The 2025 NFL season is underway, and as is par for the course, we're already starting to see the sport's natural forces of erosion take its toll on some well-known players. Even guys that during their prime were bona fide stars. Whether it's the physical preparation and keeping your body intact or the mental grind of pro football, it's hard to last in this league. And even the hardest working players can't outrun Father Time. Even just a couple of weeks into the 2025 season, we've seen evidence of that. So, how about we take a look around and call out 10 players whose best days look to, unfortunately, be behind them now and might just be ready for retirement. Gardner Johnson, safety. Free agent / released by Houston Texans. When Houston traded a 2022 first-rounder in Kenyon Green to Philly to land Gardner Johnson in March, Texans fans were pretty dang excited. I mean, heck, this play made a lot of sense. The front office was hoping to inject ball hawk energy into a secondary that needed teeth. And Gardner Johnson was coming off of 2024, where he hauled in 6 interceptions in Philly's march towards the Super Bowl. Looked like the kind of playmaker who was capable of flipping an entire game. But in 2025, the rubber met the road for that narrative. 3 weeks in, and Houston is stuck at 0-3 with all the losses by 7 points or fewer, and Gardner Johnson has been at the center of those close losses. The safety got burned on 3 big plays that turned into touchdowns, to the point that team insiders admitted that he's been out of the right matchup more than once. Miscommunication in coverage, late switches, confusion over routes, and the Texans ultimately parted ways with the veteran. Yeah, he is young enough in years to rally back, but there just might be far too many miles on him. Nick Chubb, RB, Houston Texans. Nick Chubb has always been the kind of back who doesn't need flash to earn respect. The man netted 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 3 Pro Bowls, and a reputation as one of the toughest runners in football made him the heartbeat of the Cleveland Browns for years. When healthy, he was as reliable as any back in the league. But when healthy has become a very serious asterisk that defines this stage of his career. A devastating knee injury in 2023 completely derailed him, and while he deserves credit for the way that he fought his way back to the field in 2024, he managed only 332 yards across 8 games before a broken foot in Week 15 shut him down again. 2 catastrophic injuries in back-to-back seasons is a near-death sentence for a 29-year-old running back. Houston offered him a lifeline in the form of a 1-year, $2.5 million deal that looked more like a flyer than a full vote of confidence. 3 weeks into his Texans career, Chubb has logged 34 carries for 141 yards. Good for just 4.1 yards per attempt and a single touchdown. Respectable numbers, sure, but far from the game-changing dominance that he once brought, and it's starting to feel more like a reminder that the best of those runs may already be behind him. Nick Chubb's legacy is secure. He'll be remembered as a physical and efficient route runner, and people will always wonder what he could have been if he had only stayed healthy. But in 2025, he looks less like a workhorse and more like a respected veteran playing out his final snaps. Stefon Diggs, WR, New England Patriots. Stefon Diggs once carved up secondaries with surgical precision. 10 years in, he's now trying to hang on to a reputation that his production simply doesn't back up anymore. Through 3 weeks in New England, the stat line is brutal. 13 catches for 112 yards, an 8.6-yard average, and not a single touchdown. His longest reception is just 16 yards. That is not the resume of an elite wideout. That's more so the kind of stat line that you would expect from a rookie tight end, not a former All-Pro. The eye test matches the numbers too. The burst is gone, the separation just isn't there, and defensive backs are pressing him without consequence. His once trademark ability to tilt games with a single series has evaporated into dink-and-dunk routes that don't scare anyone. And then, there's all the off-the-field drama. The very same off cloud that hovered over his last years in Buffalo, then Houston, and now has drifted east to Foxborough. The truth is this decline has been playing out for years. 2023 and 2024 already hinted at erosion, and now it seems clear that Diggs is ready for that next chapter. Aaron Rodgers, QB, Pittsburgh Steelers. The numbers still look good on paper. Last year with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers threw for 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. A stat line most quarterbacks in this league would gladly take. Sprinkle in a handful of vintage Rodgers moments, and you can almost convince yourself that the magic was still there. Almost. But dig deeper, and the truth begins to reveal itself. Rodgers finished 25th in QBR in 2024, a sign that the efficiency, consistency, and playmaking that once separated him from the pack have since dulled with age. The Jets, despite all their hype, were effectively dead by October, and he, quite frankly, just compiled meaningless stats in meaningless games. At 41, wearing black and gold instead of green and white, this is not a long-term marriage, and it's starting to feel like a farewell tour. The signs of decline are visible. The pocket presence is shakier. The mobility is gone. Rodgers is now managing games rather than dictating them. When the season ends, so too will his career. Canton is waiting. But Pittsburgh is not the launching pad for one last title run. Instead, it's just the end of the road. Joel Bitonio, OG, Cleveland Browns. For over a decade, Joel Bitonio has been the kind of player that every franchise dreams of. Steady, tough, and universally respected. 5 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pro nods, and a reputation as the beating heart of Cleveland's offensive line. If you were putting together a blueprint for what it means to be a professional in the NFL trenches, Bitonio's name is at the top of the page. But reality's catching up. After his 11th season ended in a 3-14 disaster, Bitonio admitted that he thought long and hard about walking away. Can't blame him. I mean, at 33, with the physical grind of nearly 150 career stats and the mileage that comes with anchoring one of the league's most thankless positions, retirement was a pretty logical option. But instead, he chose one more run. But even the best made plans can't always ward off Father Time. And while he is playing well, that offense has been downright terrible, and he's been battling back injuries all season. Look, big picture, expectations are pretty low in Cleveland this year. So don't be surprised if this season ends in an uninspiring fashion for Bitonio, and he ends up calling it quits on what has been a great NFL career. Derrick Henry, RB, Baltimore Ravens. After silencing his doubters in 2024, Derrick Henry has had a rough go of it to start his second season in Baltimore. Week 3, Henry coughed up a fumble in a tight spot, killing a drive that Baltimore needed to score on, marking his 3rd fumble of the year, second of which that came in a critical situation. The Ravens are now sitting at 1-2, and those lost possessions are a big reason as to why. Now, it isn't just the isolated mistakes either. He just doesn't seem to have that same pop coming out the backfield. You can see it in how defenses play the Ravens now, daring him to beat them instead of respecting him as he once commanded. The gap creation isn't as sharp, the second-level turning is slowed. Sad to say it, but 2025 might well be the season that Henry has to confront whether fading is just part of the map. For a man who defined bruising running, it's now looking like retirement is only a small step away. Russell Wilson, QB, New York Giants. Russell Wilson has been on a long decline, and the first 3 weeks of 2025 feel like the closing act. Wilson signed a 1-year, $10.5 million deal with New York in the offseason, with the understanding that he'd be the starter heading into this weird, hopeful reset. But that experiment is unraveling fast, and now the Giants are ready to turn to Jackson Dart, which means this season might very well become Wilson's final pivot towards the bench and beyond. Though his production has been decent so far this year, the numbers don't exactly tell the full story. You see, in week 3, facing Kansas City at home, it got ugly. Wilson completed just 18 of 32 passes for 160 yards through 2 interceptions and failed to keep the Giants' offense in the game, all while boos rained from MetLife Stadium. He's going on 37 this November. The league does not give grace periods at this age, especially when you're already banking on younger legs and fresher arms. The move to Dart does not guarantee success, but it signals the front office believes that the Wilson era is in the rearview mirror, and it may as well be for the rest of the league too. Javon Hargrave, DT, Minnesota Vikings. For nearly a decade, Javon Hargrave was one of the NFL's most disruptive interior linemen. A Pro Bowler in both Philadelphia and San Francisco, he carved out a reputation as the kind of defensive tackle who could collapse a pocket on Sunday and make life miserable for any quarterback in his path. But the years and the injuries have started to add up. Hargrave's 2024 season ended just 3 weeks in with a torn tricep, the type of injury that lingers well beyond the initial recovery window. Surgery sidelined him for the rest of the year, and when San Francisco cut ties in March, it was the end of what was supposed to be a long-term partnership. The Vikings swooped in with a 2-year, $30 million deal, a price tag that speaks more to Hargrave's name recognition than his current form. At 32 and now on his 4th team since entering the league in 2016, he is firmly in journeyman territory. From watching his tape in 2025, it's clear that the explosiveness that once defined his game just isn't quite there. The first step is slower, the leverage battles harder to win, and the durability questions louder than ever. Hargrave's resume is strong, with nearly 40 career sacks, 2 Pro Bowls, and years of tape showing him as one of the league's more underrated disruptors. But football is about what you can do now, not what you did 2 seasons ago. And the harsh truth is that his best days may already be behind him, and he could perhaps should be gearing up for retirement. James Conner, RB, Arizona Cardinals. James Conner was never the flashiest back, but he has been a bull. Hard to wrestle down, physical between the tackles, grinded out mentality. At age 30 though, that style ages faster than finesse backs, and 2025 appears to be the year that wear catches up. Hate to pile on a guy that's going to miss the rest of the season with an injury, but man, we can't pretend that he doesn't look primed for retirement. He came into the season nursing lower leg concerns. Not a surprise though for a back known for his ability to absorb punishment. And now he's fractured his ankle, ending his season before it even really began. Now, we've seen this arc before. The back who gives so much over years, taking hits, fighting uphill, well, they eventually find fewer cracks in the armor. Even if Conner rehabs and returns, the questions won't be about if he can carry the load. It'll be how much he can take before breaking again. 2025 may not officially end Conner's career, but it's writing the prologue to what might be the final chapter. Tyreek Hill, WR, Miami Dolphins. For years, Tyreek Hill was the NFL's ultimate cheat code. Cheetah speed that broke coverage in half, a highlight waiting to happen every time he touched the ball. Defenses schemed entire game plans around him. And even then, he'd still torch him. But man, those days are long gone, and 2025 feels different. The production is down, the efficiency is dipping, and the explosive plays that once defined Hill's game, well, they're showing up less and less. Even the fastest players in the league eventually lose a step. And you can see it in the separation, or lack thereof, and in the way that defenders aren't as terrified to press him at the line. Worse than the decline in numbers is the growing storm around him. Off the field, the drama just never seems to stop. Whether it's friction with coaches, clashing with teammates in the locker room, or the never-ending swirl of headlines, Hill has become as much a distraction as he is a weapon. What once was tolerated because he could single-handedly flip games is now harder to stomach when the box scores don't back it up. 2025 feels less like a problem with the team that Hill is playing with, and more like a stark signal that this is the beginning of the end for Hill. But which NFL players do you think look most ready for retirement? Are there any that you disagree with here? Was there anyone that we may have missed? What do you think we got right here? What do you think we got wrong? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.